Morten, I'm wondering, like, this kind of seems like a spectacular package. Like, it's one of those things where it's all inclusive, right? Like everything you can think of before and after the game is taken care of.
Yeah, that's what I like. I've been to about, and thanks for having me on, by the way, Doug. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I've been to about 20 Super Bowls. I've done broadcasting for European television at about 10 of them, and then one as a player. Wish it was more, but one anyway. And probably about a handful or more as a fan. I was always frustrated by having to kind of piecemeal things together. You would get your ticket. You never knew really where you were sitting, and then you would have to try to secure hotels and flights. And I mean, it was just a nightmare, logistic nightmare, ground transportation. Then you still weren't really part of that, tailgate experience. You could be outside, but this thing kind of brings you inside. I mean, even there are packages in this thing where you can actually go on the field for the on-field celebration following the Lombardi Trophy presentation. That's unheard of. And you'll know exactly, like you were saying, Ticketmaster's verifying the tickets, so you would know exactly where you're sitting. You can go and look at the chart of the stadium, and so this is an upgrade big time. This NFLOnLocation.com. I wish that was around 20 years ago when I was looking around for something like this.
No question. NFLOnLocation.com/Falcons fans for Falcons fans to get those specific Falcons related packages. Morten Andersen joining us. Okay, so how do you have more points than anybody in the history of the National Football League because you were such a prodigious kicker and you're not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? This is the fourth time you've been a finalist, right?
Yeah, this is the fourth time, fifth year eligible. First year I was in the semifinals and been a finalist now for 4 years. It's a question I ask myself every time around this time of year, and a lot of other people. All the other major sports have their leading whatever, base stealer, run getter, point scorer, goal scorer in their respective halls. The NFL is the only one that, I should say, pro football is the only one does not have theirs. So it's a mystery to me, Doug. But again, I am mindful that a lot of deserving candidates are there every year, and I lean up against the hope that eventually, the door will crack open and I'll be able to kick it in there.
Yeah. One of the things that's maybe underrated about the New England Patriots, Morten Andersen, one of the great kickers in the history of the National Football League, all-time leading scorer in the history of the NFL, joining us on CBS Sports Radio, care of On Location Experiences, getting ready for Super Bowl 51. We'll be down there live all next week in Houston, leading you up to the Super Bowl between the Falcons, who he played for, and one of the teams he played for, and the New England Patriots. Pats have gone, Patriot fans don't know how good they have it. Not only they had a great coach, and they've had a great quarterback who, with the exception of one season, has been healthy, but they've gone from back-to-back incredible kickers. I guess the question becomes, as one of the great kickers of all time, how early in a guy's career can you tell if a guy has what it takes?
I don't know if you're going to know early. You're going to know the guy has talent early, but does he have staying power? Well, one thing is to do it 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, but I want to see what you do over 2 decades. And are you going to make any decade teams? I was lucky enough to make 2 all-decade teams. I believe I'm the only candidate in the room on when they do start debating candidacy Saturday before the Super Bowl. I'm the only finalist that has 2 all-decade team selections. So I think at the end of the career, that's when you kind of say this guy was really, really good, because you have seen these guys skyrocket and disappear off the map. And what happened to this guy?
But these are 2 really good ones. Matt Bryant's been around a while, okay,
yeah.
and Gostkowski has been. I think he hasn't missed a kick in the playoffs since 2009, right? Hasn't missed one, and he's kicking in tough conditions in New England. So you have 2.
Yeah.
These are not Johnny-come-latelys here into the Super Bowl.
No, these are guys where the head coach and the special teams coach is going to get some sleep the night before and not going, oh, my gosh, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. This is pretty comforting to have guys that have a few skins on the wall and a few wins. I mean, they've been in defining moments. They've been in big games and won them. So both teams are in great shape kicking game-wise for sure.
Morten Andersen joining us on the Doug Gottlieb Show, CBS Sports Radio. We remember Roberto Aguayo they traded up to take him in the second round this year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. and he really, really struggled. I mean, like, look, one, you're putting the pressure of trading up for a guy, taking him that early in the draft. And look, he's in a state in which he's earned some equity because he kicked at Florida State. How hard is that to overcome? Like, I'd love for all of us to just be able to press delete and forget the first year, but how hard is that really to overcome?
We'll have to ask Russell Erxlib. I'm dusting off a name there for you. This was a guy that, well, I'll just give you an example. Russell was out of Texas and was a first-round pick of the Saints and could not. I mean, he couldn't hit a goalpost if it was 40 feet wide. So, the first year, and I struggled my first year. I was a fourth-round pick. So for Roberto to struggle, I'm not surprised, really, having been a high pick. But most guys struggle the first year. Then they kind of find their way. They either find their way or they find their way out. And I think he'll find his way. But there's no question that on the start, it's tough. And you got to have a coach that's patient. A lot of coaches are not patient with that position for whatever reason. They just they'll pull the trigger and think they can get the next guy on the corner. So it's important that he's allowed that patience to develop a little bit. Most high rounders are going to be asked to play and produce right away, and so that's what comes with being a second-round pick. And I don't care what position you are playing, and that's what we have with Aguayo. So a little bit of patience, and he'll find his way.
Okay, so we've asked several kickers this question, and I want to get your opinion. Morten Andersen joining us, one of the great kickers in the history of the National Football League, if not the best, the all-time leading scorer in the history of the National Football League. Doug Gottlieb, show CBS Sports Radio. Does freezing a kicker work?
No, I've always said you can't ice. I don't think it works for me anyway. I can only speak from my own experiences. And now, they weren't really able to call timeout at the very last second when I was playing. I think that rule change came later, or that tweak came a little bit later. And so a lot of times it backfires. It probably works more on a young kid than a guy that's been around because everybody kind of expects it. Right. The thing is, you can't expect it. If you're kicking, you just got to come through the ball and you got to kick it. And if he calls timeout, you recycle, you kick it again. I would love to see the stats on that. I'm sure somebody in research up there at your station can figure that one out. I would love to see what is the success on when that timeout was called right at the last millisecond. But it didn't really work for me. It gave me more time to kind of set up, recycle, and find my target line. I was always about targets. I haven't really looked at the goalpost. I knew that they're 18 feet 6 inches, right? And I aimed for the middle because the middle never changes.